going on, y'all? So that video was pretty crazy. So I'm gonna try to explain this without contradicting this. Y'all just bear with me. I want to make a few points. Y'all just stick with me. So very unfortunate situation. But let me make my first point here. So when it comes to passing, if you're gonna jump out into that left lane, you better be able to pass that driver in a timely fashion, because you don't want to be caught out in that left lane, playing leapfrog with another driver. Because when you do that, ultimately, you're holding up traffic and it's just not a good situation. And like I said, make sure you're able to pass, Now, there's two ways that this can go. When it comes to passing, you need to keep in mind that driver in the right lane, they're in their correct lane, because rule of thumb is truckers, we're supposed to stay in the right lane for the most part, unless posted otherwise. So that driver in the right lane, they're not obligated to slow down to let you in. Now, it's the courteous thing to do. That way, you can keep the flow of traffic. But keep in mind, that driver in the right lane is in his or her correct lane, so they're not obligated to slow down for you. Now, unfortunately, a lot of drivers will do this. They do it to me all the time. I'll have almost all of my trailers around the car or truck in the right lane. Then all of a sudden, they'll try to match my speed, or they'll speed up, which will force me to have to fall back and move back over. Now, when you're in the left lane and you see that happen, you can either just fall back, that would be the right thing to do, or you can play leapfrog. I don't really recommend that you do that. Now, if you're getting passed in the right lane, I want to know why y'all do that. I've always wanted to know, if you see you're getting passed, why do you decide to speed up rather than letting the driver get ahead of you and then just fall back, Now, of course, in this video, we don't know what happened prior to this person filming, but I can say both drivers are wrong. What do you mean both? I'm gonna explain it. Y'all just stick with me. So Saia was clearly struggling, to get around this driver, and he's wrong for trying to force the driver in the right lane out of his lane. He had no right to do that, because, again, the driver in the right lane was in his or correct lane. Now, let me touch on the driver in the right lane. They're wrong in a sense for speeding up. He or she should have fell back, let Saia get around, because clearly Saia had the rear pup damn near ahead of this guy. So he's wrong for that. Let that pride go. It's probably a battle of ego, if you ask me, but Saia's wrong for trying to force the driver out of the lane. Now, what happens next, obviously, caused Saia to roll it over. That driver in the right lane was wrong for forcing Saia off the road, which also made Saia, lose control of the trailers and roll it over. Now, what I'm about to say, it might sound crazy, but hear me out. So, of course, when somebody veers into your lane, your natural instinct is to swerve. You don't want to do that, because had Saia stayed in his lane when that driver swerved, the driver in the right lane would have hit Saia. And Saia, from what I know, they have cameras in their trucks. It would have caught that. And then the driver in the right lane would have been at fault for intentionally swerving into Saia. So in that case, when that happens, guys, don't swerve. Just let that driver hit you. And again, I know it sounds crazy, but then again, it might save you in the end, because now that Saia has rolled the truck over, there's no telling how it's going to play out. There's no telling if Saia's going to terminate this driver, Now, let's just say, let's grant the argument that Saia let the driver hit him. Saia probably still would have got a ticket for forcing that driver out of his lane, So I believe, again, both drivers, they're at fault. They're both wrong, but ultimately, the driver in the right lane is wrong for causing the accident. And that driver should have pulled over and stopped. But of course, that driver kept on going. So what do you guys think? Who do you believe is at fault? Again, you guys already know where I stand. I believe both drivers are just as guilty. And again, it's unfortunate that Saia rolled it over. But I think a lesson can be learned here. You know, when it comes to passing, again, only pass if you know that you can pass, because drivers do it to me all the time. They'll jump out in that left lane thinking that they can pass me, but what they don't realize is some of the trucks, you know, are set just a tad bit higher. So some of them find themselves not able to pass, or they find themselves having to get back behind me. So point is, guys, if you can't pass, don't attempt it. And if you see yourself being passed, you know, have some courtesy, you know, let that driver go, because again, when that driver's out in the left lane, it's probably a whole bunch of impatient four-wheelers behind that driver. All right, y'all, let me know what y'all think.